Hello and welcome to The Court Jester, the podcast that takes you on a wild ride through the most scandalous stories of the Middle Ages. I am Cleopethenu, medievalist, storyteller, and your host. We have a special guest today. Put your hands together for Peter Konieczny, whom you may know from his excellent work on Medievalist Net, if not from his work on medieval warfare. Hello, Peter. Did I pronounce your name right?
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me.
Welcome to The Court Jester. You are here to tell us a story today, correct?
Indeed. So, one of my kind of favorite things to do is read some of the kind of funny stories from the Middle Ages, and I kind of find the Arabic stuff to be the best,
I know nothing about those.
yeah, like there's a fine long tradition of like Arabic writers that, found a lot of humor in things and kind of told their stories. And so I'm going to actually talk from one of the best stories that there's out there. It's kind of translated. It's called the Maqamat al-Hariri. Some people have translated it as the Impostures. The kind of go up and speaking and telling a story. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so it has that. So what I'm kind of like, this is kind of a bit of another literary tradition that's in the medieval Arabic culture. Makama is when you try and do kind of a string a bunch of stories together, and they can have the kind of same protagonist or same antagonist, things like that. And it became a kind of a way for writers to kind of show off their skill, to kind of show off what Arabic can do.
Okay.
And so we come to this guy. His name is Abu Muhammad al-Qasim al-Hariri. So he's from Basra. He's living in the early 12th century. We don't know too much about him. He came from money, or he was like a local official. Like either he had the money, had enough money to do this literary career.
Okay.
Um, and he comes like to Basra to Baghdad, because everyone goes to Baghdad to get. He comes to Baghdad in 1101, and he starts telling these stories. He has this he's written up. But he gets a really cold reception, and his part is
Hmm.
he doesn't. One person like asks him to write like do like one of these stories on the spot to make one up, and he can't do it, and like so he leaves in shame, right? Like you know
Mm.
doesn't come back for 10 years, but when he returns he kind of sets it up. He's kind of mastered his craft, and he has these public readings of his work, and it gets every week more and more people start showing up, because they're going to do like 50 stories, and then after about like a couple of months this thing is like become a bestseller. Like people are like flocking to him, and so like for the next little while he becomes like the kind of star of it. And one example is like there was enough manuscripts of this work floating around that he personally autographed like 700 copies.
All right.
Yeah, he lived for about another 10 years. So people came up to like kind of get, hey, is this your work, right? Like, and yeah, he put his little signature. It was 700 times he did that. So
So he went to proper stardom, celebrity status at some point.
in indeed. And so this work, for the next like several hundred years, this was like considered like the peak of Arabic literature. Like
Mm-hmm.
in part like the not just the funniness of the stories, but how he was able to kind of make use of the Arabic language. He would put like little challenges in it, right? Such as like making sure like this particular vowel wasn't used in any of the stories in a story, or you could have one story be read front to back and back to front. It would both make sense either way.
This is amazing.
Yeah. It was really quite technically tricky to do.
This
So
is
like,
incredible craftsmanship. Yes.
yeah. So it was literally something that people would read, not just for the fun of it, but hey, this is how I can like learn Arabic, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So we have like his set of stories, and in his version, there's like 50 stories.
Mm-hmm.
So they all have the same narrator, and his name is Al Harith ibn Haman, which really translates as everyman. So this guy is, in every story he's in a different city in the Arabic world. So from Central Asia to like North Africa, you can find him. And when
Mm-hmm.
he gets there, he comes across a scene where this other person is, and his name is Abu Zayed, and he's our main character of this. But Abu Zayed, he says he's a preacher, but he also says he has a family. He says he has no family, but we do meet his wife and kids at times. He is at times a con man, at times a smooth talker. Sometimes he's exposing other con artists,
Mm-hmm.
but and our narrator never really knows until at least halfway through who this guy is, right? Because he's always in a bit of a disguise.
Mm-hmm.
So
Perfect. Perfect.
yeah,
So your character is the main character is whatever the story needs him to be, or
yeah,
no, I'll ask my questions after you tell the story, actually.
sure, sure. Like, there's a couple of different translations of this work, but there's the one I've picked one is Michael Cooperson. He did it fairly recently, and what he decided to do was translate all 50 stories in 50 different ways.
Okay.
So you can read one version is translated in the style of Geoffrey Chaucer, another is translated in Mark Twain style,
This is
or
amazing.
Cockney rhyming slang,
Oh, the
or
translator was a genius.
it's really good. And there's Nigerian English, so Singaporean English. So yeah, it's a quite a great little story. So I've kind of picked out the imposture number 8, which
Mm-hmm.
involves a judge.
Okay, so whenever you're ready.
So here's the story. It begins. Al-Harith ibn Hamin unspooled this yarn. I once witnessed an incident in Naman's Knot that knocked my socks off. Two disputants had buttonholed the judge to plead their case. One was a crotchety old fellow who had gone loose and baggy, and the other was a straight stitch. The old man went first. May God back his honor, the judge, he said, and he saved me from getting fleeced. She was sharp as a tack and neat as a pin, and she could handle the rough patches. She would tear through a job of work, then lie there flat as a board. She didn't mind filing. She always kept her head and never lost the thread. She was good for a nip and a tuck, but she had only one eye. She might string you along or take a stab at you, but she always got her point across. She loved a cold bath. She could bob and weave and leave you in stitches. But as long as I had her under my thumb, she made sure I had a shirt on my back. Whenever she went out on a tear, she made sure to tie up the loose ends. And if I put her down, she'd stay on the case. If I needed something letting out, no one was to patch on her. But if I rubbed her the wrong way, she'd give me a good jab. Well, this young fellow here asked me if I could avail himself of her services. I let her have him without asking anything in return, except that he not push her too hard. But he used her for pricking and boning and left her warped and bent. He offered me compensation, but it's not good enough, darn it. Then it was the young man's turn. Every word the old man said is true, Your Honor, but the warping and bending happened by mistake. And in any case, I gave him my pledge against damages. Now the pledge is a sight of for sore eyes and a heavy tipper who won't bend under the lash. Once you've got him in your corner, you'll hold the line and fill in for whatever he's needed. He's cast a long shadow, and he'll spread your wings, and he brings the best out in his pupils. I admit there's something shady about him. He'll give off you some brush off, and he lays it on thick. He's a double dipper, and he'll take a powder if he goes up to the pot. In fact, he's just as black as he's painted, but he'll make sure you turn the other cheek, and there's no dispensing without him. The judge said, Speak plainly, you two, or be off. So the young man stepped up and said, What he gave me was a needle to darn my rags. When I drew it, it broke. Now the fellow won't forgive me. He says repair it or pay me what it's worth. And he's keeping the whole pencil I used to dab my eyes. Free me, Your Honor, from this cruel joke. The judge turned to the old man and said, Your turn, and no hemming and hawing. The old man replied, "It's not by choice I've come to hold a coal stick for ransom when a single needle breaks. But I've been jabbed and stabbed and pricked and poked by the ripping of shears of fate. Now I'm destitute as he is, and as poor as I. Otherwise, I would despise his fellow's paltry stake." When the judge realized the two were a cut above the usual disputants and were truly out of pocket, he produced a gold dinar from under his prayer mat. "Take this and patch things up," he said. Cutting it ahead of the nipper, the old man snapped up the coin. "One half is mine," he said, "because it was a gift to both of us, and the other half is mine too, for the loss of my needle. I won't wrong side you. Here is the coal stick." The young man was thrown for a loop and looked put out. Meanwhile, the judge's temper is starting to fray, not the least because the codger had collared his gold coin. But he kept his shirt on and placketed the boy with a few pieces of silver. Then he said, "No more scrapping, you two, and no more basting my time with lawsuits. I have no more surplus to hand out." The two sprung up, rejoicing in the gifts he had given them, full of praise for the judge, and bolted. Meanwhile, his honor was looking snippy, as if he had let them draw the wool over his eyes. Finally, he pulled himself together and turned to his trotters. "Something tells me that the so-called suit was no suit at all. Those two have had something up their sleeve, and we've been worsted. Now they've given us the slip." His chief striker spoke up. "Let's bring them back and hang them to dry." So the judge sent a trotter to fetch them. When Penn reappeared before him, he said that if they had come clean, he'd let them off the hook. The younger one shrunk away, clearly eager to skirt the issue. But the old man stepped forward and recited off the cuff, "I'm the man from Saraj. This is my son. He's a cut from the same cloth as I. I've never plied a needle in my life, and he never put coal on his eyes. Our luck wore thin. We took the road to shift our bread every day. We dyed the wool. We lived by a rule. Where there's a will, there's a way." "Sheer eloquence," cried the judge. "If you weren't so shifty," he continued. "Now, let me lay it out for you. The next time you deal with officials or other shirts stuffed, button your lip and don't get too big for your britches. I'll let you go, but the others might not cut you any slack." The old man promised he would, as the judge advised. But as he peeled away, I saw him smirk.
So they took the judge's money. Marvelous. Amazing.
Yeah, so it's one of the little cons that he plays.
Thank you for that, Peter. Can I start with my questions now?
Sure.
Right. So this is one question, one story of many in the collection, you said.
Yeah, this is a tale of 50 stories.
So
all and they're all with the same narrator. Abu Zayd shows up, and they're all set in different places in the Arabic world.
But you did say that there's one. This is a literary work, so that means that the author essentially invents the stories, or are they taken from some sort of folk tradition or anything like that? Do we know?
I think they're very unique stories. Like he's basing it off a model of other kinds of similar stories, but it seems to be from his own imagination, like the actual details of what's happening.
Okay, originals, perfect. And from all over the Islamic world at the time, do we know if the guy traveled, like went around different places to collect stories, or did he just put them wherever he needed them to be, really?
Yeah, we don't know anywhere he was else besides Basra and Baghdad, right? So like when he's kind of talking about places in North Africa or Central Asia, like he knows their names, but like there's nothing really there to suggest that he knew the places or anything more than what he had read.
So essentially, he went in isolation for 10 years, found all the inspiration that he was lacking, worked on a masterpiece, and then turned it into a bestseller.
Indeed, yeah.
That's amazing.
we know a lot about this work because a lot of people commented on it as well for the next couple hundred years that, this is something that people wanted to analyze, just like how we do with like literature and movies today. So,
Hmm.
uh, yeah, it really didn't fall out of favor until like the 19th century.
Did the stories make it to the West during the Middle Ages?
I believe like by the 16th and 17th century, there were like versions kind of circulating in the West as well.
Hmm. Hmm.
They certainly weren't like as popular as say like the Thousand and One Nights, right? That like so with
Hmm.
like I think with Arabic, like you find a lot of examples of literature where they continue on and tell the stories. Like A Thousand and One Nights is a very popular version of that, but there's a lot of other kind of literature like where there's plenty of sequels.
I see.
Yeah,
Okay, so they start there and then they keep the thread going.
yeah. So like, but in this case, this is his version, and it just happened that other people would kind of write their own Maqamat
Hmm. Hmm.
afterwards.
And Makamat means
Yeah,
relative.
it kind of means going up and speaking. Like, it's kind of like it's a weird way of, like there's different ways of translating it, right? And I think one
Hmm.
is like imagine you go in front of a crowd and talk and tell your story. So
It sounds a bit like stand-up comedy or indeed any kind of storytelling performance, if I'm honest.
indeed, yeah, it's something certainly that like I'm not the greatest storyteller of it all, but you can kind of get thanks to Cooperson's translation, it can be a really fun thing to just to listen to.
It was very fun to listen to this one, I'll have to say. But you said that these were read, but do we know if they were ever performed?
Like even it would be more of a kind of a public reading. Like even like
Mm,
when
hmm.
Harari had it done in Baghdad, he hired a professional to do it.
Okay, so he had dramatic readings happening, like we do with
Yeah,
poetry today. That is performance, so it
yeah.
counts.
I know, like in the times of like other kind of Arabic, you'd hear like shadow plays being
Hmm.
done.
Hmm.
That was fairly popular in the medieval Arabic world. In particular, I know of a few things that are like done out of Cairo around the turn of the 13th century. A couple of them survive. They're pretty funny as well. So,
All right, and
but
there's 49 more of those stories then, and the book is out. The publication exists. We can find them and read them.
yeah, like this translation is New York University Press.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, like I'll if you kind of go on medievalist.net, you'll see a few other kind of things. I really love their kind of series of Library of Arabic Literature.
Yeah,
There's some pretty good satires and stories that they've been doing. It's
it's
a lot of
already on
fun
my
to read.
reading list.
Yeah, like it's definitely worth checking out their Library of Arabic Literature. They got everything from tales from monasteries to hunting poems to con artists. So
And the last question that I had, because I went snooping, I didn't know anything about this, but when we talked about what you're bringing to the podcast, I went snooping and I read something about the impostures regarding the language. And you mentioned that you can read some stories one way and then you can read them in reverse. But is it also true that wordplay is playing really, really strongly as a favorite type of humor?
oh, indeed, yeah. Like they're like the original Arabic would have this kind of like double meanings for every kind of word. They just playing around with how you can take Arabic one way or the other. So
Does it work in translation?
it's hard to like I've read like kind of a more basic translation of that, and it doesn't come across as funny. Although
Mm,
like you can see where they're going with, but it's
yeah.
to do a translate. Yeah, like I felt like a translation like this offers a little bit of extra, right? Like I think you have to instead of being the exact, you kind of go for the
Yeah,
what
yeah.
he was kind of going for. So
Word puns are the absolute nightmare of translating. If you're trying to joke with words, it will either have to be a word that corresponds in the language that you're going for, if you're lucky, or the joke is gone. You just need a big footnote to explain the joke to your reader, and then it's just
yeah,
like not there.
Yeah, exactly. Don't, it can be done sometimes, but like a work like this, I do wish I could be able to read the Arabic version, and
I
kind
feel
of
you.
get the feeling of it all. But I was pretty happy with Cooperson's version. Just it was a lot of fun just to go through each story.
Well, that's all my questions. Is there anything about these stories that you would like to tell us that we haven't talked about yet?
I just, I think like, if you have a chance to kind of like take a look at different cultures and how they can create humorous stories, right? Like it can be found everywhere. Everyone loved a joke.
Hmm.
Everyone, loved to kind of do satire. And like it's for like us like English readers, it's certainly starting to come out quite a bit now that we can have access to these kind of materials
Hmm.
and just enjoy them.
Agreed. And I don't think we can have enough of humor from the past because for me, humor is what brings people together. And if it is through time and through cultures, then it's the best thing we can possibly do is to laugh in unison through the centuries.
Indeed.
I just love it.
Thanks so much
Thank,
for having me.
thank you for coming. This was brilliant. I'm going to look up this book and read the rest of the stories and maybe bring more to the podcast and hopefully do them justice. And you, dear listeners, if you enjoyed the story, if you enjoyed what you heard and you would like some more, you know what to do. Like, subscribe and leave a review for The Court Jester on Spotify or wherever else you get your podcasts. And spread the word. Tell your friends, tell your enemies, tell your medieval studies professor, tell your weird neighbor, tell whomever you think might enjoy what we do. Lastly, if you'd like to support the podcast and help me get a sense of achievement, head over to Patreon. For as little as £1, you will get access to bonus episodes, extra material, and the warm, fuzzy feeling of being part of this nonsense. Links to everything are below. Thank you for listening. And I'll see you next time.